Like to warmly welcome to the subject Computer Applications for Managers for the IT department. Okay, I am the coordinator of the subject. My name is Subhashini. Okay, if you want to contact me, this is my email address. You can contact me via email. Okay, this is our lecture panel. Here we are going to conduct the lectures, main lecture and the interactive classes, interactive lessons. You will be meeting your individual lecturer in your interactive session. Okay, this will be on Thursday, 8 to 10. Okay. Okay, this is the course description. What you are going to learn. Okay, I think you all have remembered that you have learned the subject ITC 1340. It is about application software. Okay, how you can use application software to improve organizational productivity, how to make efficient and effective. In this course, we will be focusing on how you can use spreadsheets as decision-making tool and how you can use database to store data and how you can use the database for the business intelligence. And the next is the online applications, how to use the online applications to improve the productivity of organization and how to interact with the World Wide Web using the online applications and what are the available software applications for collaboration tools in the workplace. So this course is mainly focused on the managers. For the managers, how they can use these softwares to improve the productivity of organization. That is the benefit of learning this course. Okay, remember that you have to remember the subject ITC 1340. There are 5 learning outcomes. These are the learning outcomes. First one is we are going to learn how to design and develop a database. What is the purpose of designing and developing a database? You know, the database is mainly focused on storing data. In the organizational environment, the problem is how to store data. So this learning outcome is focusing on getting the knowledge and skills to develop and design a database. The second learning outcome is how you can create online presence. That means online applications for the organization to promote product or service in the organization. The third one is the gain awareness of there are collaborative softwares, how you can use collaborative softwares in the organizational environment, like how to use the organizational tasks and like Office 365 and Monday.com, Jamboard, how you can use them in the organizational tasks. The third one is identify information need of the organization and how you can create and modify spreadsheet-based model for the decision making, like how to predict, how to make decisions based on the data that you have, how you can use them. So the fourth one is basically how to use the application software MS Excel. The last one is about Microsoft Power App, how you can create business applications to make the business more efficient and how you can learn the different ways to build that application. So I think you all have understand the 5 learning outcomes. The first one is focusing on MS Access application software, how to design and develop a database for the organization. The second one is you are learning online application like WordPress, how to develop a website. Third one is how to use the collaborative tools like Office 365. Fourth one is how you can use MS Excel for the decision-making purpose in the organization. The last one is Microsoft Power App, how you can create a small application for the organization. Okay. Okay, this is our syllabus. Our syllabus is mainly 5 modules. The first one is database management. The second one is web presence, collaborative tools, advanced spreadsheet applications, Microsoft Power Apps. And also the prerequisite is here you always, this module is aligned with Introduction to Information Technology, which you have learned in your first year, under first year. These are the references, mainly all the course materials, manuals we are going to upload into the LMS, so you can download all the materials from the LMS. That's the main reference. Okay, next is the evaluation. We are starting these lectures online, and in the future, if physically allowed, we hope to back to the physical classes. Therefore, your evaluation is focuses on physical exam. Continuous assessment is based on the case study, presentation, quiz, spot test. We have allocated 40% for the continuous assessment. For the final exam, it is a physical exam, which is consists of practical and theory. It is a 3-hour essay type paper. 60% is allocated for the final examination. I think you all have cleared. This is for physical examination. We are starting online, but later on, we are going to move to the physical classes. Therefore, the evaluation is for the physical, continuous assessment, and final examination. 40% continuous assessment, final examination 60%. These are the degree programs we are offering this course module. I think you all have seen there are 9 degree programs, 9 departments. The first one is business administration, the business economics, commerce, entrepreneurship, the decision science, finance and human resource management, business information systems, public department. Okay, this is your schedule. In the schedule, remember that main lecture is Tuesday 8 to 10. These are the departments allocated for the Tuesday session. That is, this is you all are. Then Thursday, you have the interactive session, Thursday 8 to 10. For the interactive session, I have given you the link in the LMS. You need to click the relevant link and go to the interactive session. So you will be meeting your individual lecturer in your interactive session. Then the next is for the Tuesday 10 to 12. This is not applicable for you, only for the Tuesday 8 to 10, and Thursday 8 to 10 is allocated for you. Okay, if you have any questions, you can send me. You can use your chat box if you have any questions. Hope everything is cleared for you, because I want to discuss the course outline with you. If any questions, you can send me a chat. Okay, no any questions. So I will move to the course outline. So I'm going to discuss the course outline with you. The same thing which is in the slides. So this is the subject, ITC 2340. These are the degree programs which I have told you we are offering this course module. Okay, I will explain you the attendance after finishing all. I will give you the instructions in the instruction, and also the course outline. I have given you the attendance. Okay, attendance procedure. Here, this is the compulsory for all departments. Basically, the nationality, this is the course is, the aim is to develop student knowledge about the computer application, how they can use this application in the management role. And the course description, I have already discussed with you about the course description. And the ILO learning outcomes also I have discussed with you. I think no any questions. These are the modules, each modules what we are going to learn. The first one is database management module. The next one is web. The second is web. Third one is collaborative tools. Fourth one is spreadsheet. The last one is you are going to learn about how you can automate a business application process. Okay, that is what you are going to learn Microsoft Power App. Then here also I have given you the evaluation. Okay, I will explain you the spot test. Okay, evaluation, it is continuous assessment and final examination. For the evaluation, you have case study, presentation, quiz, and spot test. I think you all have known what is case study, presentation, quiz. Spot test is randomly we are given you a test. In here, in the class, in here we hope to give you 5 spot tests. Out of 5, we are going to take a maximum 3 for your evaluation. I think you all have understand what I'm saying. 5 spot tests out of 5, maximum 3 we are going to take to the evaluation process. And for the attendance, it is 80%. Students need to maintain at least 80% attendance in the classroom. Okay. Okay, that is your course outline. Any questions regarding the course outline? You have asked about the attendance. You need to maintain at least 80%. Okay. And also the spot test, randomly we are given a test in the class. So based on that, we are going to make the continuous assessment. Any other questions? Okay, if no any questions, I have some instructions to you before starting the module. The first one is you need to use your CPM and the first name when you are logging to the lecture and also the interactive session. Please remember to use login name as your CPM number and the first name. The next is we are given you 5 spot tests. From out of 5, we are taking maximum 3 for the evaluation. Okay, and also I hope we will be back to the physical classes soon. Therefore, we will be moving to the physical classes later on. Okay. Okay. If you have any questions, you can ask. I will give you 5 minutes. You can ask if you have any questions. Okay, next we are going to start the first module, that is database management module. Today the database management module is conducted by Nilantha sir. I would like to warmly welcome Nilantha sir to start the module. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Subhashini Miss. So let me share my screen. I hope you can hear me well as you can see my screen also. I hope you will listen well to these lessons, and since Miss has informed already that you will be having spot tests, right? It can be even today, right? So make sure that you listen to these concepts very carefully throughout the lesson, and also be updated with the previous lessons when you come to this next consecutive lessons in this lecture series. So I will have to inform certain things about this module specifically. So Miss Subhashini has given you an entire picture of the entire lesson series, and if you take the database model specifically, you have 2 sections of this. One is the theory, the other one is practical. So practicals are not going to be conducted online. So that will be conducted once you are physically here in the university, right? So make sure that you are ready to do practicals once you are back in the university. So that is the first point that you have to keep in mind. And also make sure that you are ready at any time to take spot tests. So if I remember anything that I missed to tell you, I will tell meanwhile during the lessons. Okay, so our first lesson, database design and development. So two parts, right? Designing and development. So like anything, right? I mean, even software, first you have design and then you have develop. Even a house, you have to first design and then do the development. So these things may not be tangible. So software is not tangible. Database is not tangible. You don't touch it. You don't feel it. I mean, you can't touch the software, right? But if you can see and touch a building, a house. So that's why I told you, anyway, whatever you are seeing as a product, whether it is some kind of a tangible or intangible, first part is designing it. The other part is developing it. So before designing, right, far beyond development, before designing, we will have to study the concepts related to a database. Okay, I hope one more thing. You can ask any question during the lesson, right? First, that's the first thing. So while I'm doing the lesson, I will be checking the chat time to time to see if there are any questions. And so as you have a chance to ask questions, we are also having a chance to ask questions. So you will be directed with questions, so you have to answer. And there is a very good lecture panel with us who are supporting, including myself, to see if your answers are correct. So we can correct you then and there. So if you give a wrong answer, if you correct answer, we just can evaluate your answer, right? We are not going to give marks for that. But that's not a spot test, right? This is just random questions that we are just having within this lesson series. So if a question is being asked, you have to cooperate with us and give answers. So don't make this a one-way lecture. Make it a duplex, make it a two-way duplex lecture, right? Always make sure that you respond, always make sure that you will collaborate, right? හැම වෙලාවෙම මතක තියාගන්න මේක ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න පුළුවන් ඔයාලටත් සහ අපිත් ප්‍රශ්න අහනවා. එතකොට ඕගොල්ලෝ ඒවට උත්තර දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒත් එක්කම මේක එක්කෙනෙක් නිකන් කරන ලෙක්චර් එකක් විතරක් කියලා හිතන්න නැතුව පුළුවන් තරම් කෝපරේටිව්ලි මේක අහන් ඉඳලා ඊට පස්සේ ඒකේ උත්තර මේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර දීලා ඇක්ටිව්ලි මේකට පාටිසිපේට් වෙන්න කියලා මේ මොඩියුල් එකට විතරක් නෙමේ හැම මොඩියුල් එකකටම අපි ඔයාලගේ ඉල්ලනවා. Okay, we'll start. So we'll be giving some briefings with Single as well, since there are some difficulties in understanding complete English lectures in certain situations. Okay, so what is a database? Before coming to database, we have to understand why there is a necessity in databases to the world of information technology or to the world of business. Why we need databases? So if you take different systems available, public or private, for example, now if you take Facebook, everyone knows it. If you take eBay, everyone has used, most of you may have used it before, right? So now when you take this, these are systems. Now if you take any of these systems, they are having a data store. So what do you have in this particular data store? For example, if you take Facebook, on the first day that you are registering inside in this web application, you are providing your email address. Then you will provide your name, right? And also you will provide also your contact details. You will upload the photo. So there will be many different details that we provide. Like you, there are many millions of people will also provide details like that. So there should be a proper arranged structure to maintain this data in a systematic manner, right? So for storing and also for retrieving, you should have a proper mechanism or a proper component. As well as now, if you take eBay, you can see there are millions of products and millions of customers, millions of sellers there, right? So like that, there are so many different types of data available, which should be stored in a systematic way. So now, when it comes to the storage of data in these sophisticated systems, you need a proper mechanism. So the mechanism that we use is a database. Okay, so that's the basic requirement of a database. Now, as a manager, what is the importance of knowing this particular subject? Now you know that these data are being gathered for a long period of time. For example, if you take supermarkets, they have large customer databases, they have large databases that they have accumulated their historical transactions. So what can they do? As a manager, what the manager can do with this? The manager mainly can use this data in order to do certain analysis, and also can use it for generating business intelligence. So generating business intelligence, and also to find out the different patterns where the sales has occurred in the past. Right? So there are many different things that can be done with this repository of data that has been gathered. Right? So even the daily sales or weekly sales will be important to a manager to access that database and retrieve it and do some analysis. So the manager, if he has some idea how to design a database and the concepts of a database, when the concepts of a database, so the manager at the time of the development of the system can decide what are the different changes or specific implementations that should be followed by the system developers when implementing a system for the organization. Because if the manager is really interested in finding certain, retrieving certain data items with a certain specialized view or certain specialized criteria, so the manager can instruct the developers or give some ideas to the developers of the system, because he knows this designing concept, so he can just give a good cooperation to the developers in order to develop a system that is going to be friendly for that particular set of managers. So that's the main idea behind the understanding these designing concepts, right? So you are going beyond a user. That's the main thing that you have to understand. So you are not just going to be a user of a database, you are also going to be a designer of a database. Okay, so I hope you got the point. Why we need a database, why it is necessary for a manager to learn about database designing, what kind of advantages that you will get during these lessons once you learn them. So mainly the manager should have this idea in order for him to take decisions at the time of the system development as well as at the time of at the time of the business operations, both. Right? So do remember that. Okay, now we come to the next slide. What is a database? A collection of logically related data stored in a manner so it can be retrieved as needed. So you store them with the intention of retrieving. So there is no use of storing data if you can't retrieve them back. That you have to remember. Always you do something. So now you deposit money in a bank with the intention of taking it back at some time. You're not going to keep it there forever. So you even store the data to retrieve it in a way that you are going to query it back for certain requirements of the government or certain requirements of the organization. You have to store this data, which sometimes may be transactional data or maybe some internal data like employees, work hours, those things. So these are different. There are different databases that you will use to store the data. So for example, one can be the transactional databases that are used by retail shops or supermarkets. There can be another database for storing the employee information in a company. There can be another database in the Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, which are storing the student information. Like, so there are different types of databases. So this data, how it is organized? It is organized into rows and columns. So these rows and columns all together create tables. And these tables makes our life easier to find information. So this data that you have stored will get expanded. Expanded means it will keep on adding up new records. And also the existing data may be changed. So we call it updating. And some records may be removed. So we call it deleting. So that's what it says. Data gets updated, extended, and deleted. So database process workloads to create, databases process workloads to create and update themselves, querying the data they contain and running the application. So databases, they are getting workloads to create and update themselves. So for an example, now if you take, we will take a system that you are familiar with, like a system that is, okay, we'll just take a public site like eBay. So this eBay's database is getting workloads because customers are purchasing items. So when 1,000 customers purchases, or let's say now within a 1 minute, 10,000 customers are adding items to their shopping cart, and now they are going to check out. Right? Within a 1 minute, 10,000 customers, let's say they are going to check out their items. Now that is a workload towards the database. So within 1 minute, a workload of 1,000 customers is going to be directed towards the database. I think someone has unmuted. Please mute yourselves, otherwise it will be disturbing during the lesson. So make sure you can ask questions, of course, but it is better not to accidentally unmute yourself. So since these are recorded, that's the problem. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Of course, it will now. Otherwise, this will be heard again and again for the people who are listening later. Okay, it's fine, but anyway, try to not avoid as much as possible these accidental unmutes. Thank you. Then database process workflows to create that. So I just explained that point. Then you should know what a workload is. Those things you can understand. So when you are querying data, when you are checking out every time a database is getting some kind of a work to do. So it has to update some tables and it has to add new records and keep it for later retrieval. So that is a database. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can ask up to now. If you have any kind of questions, you can direct to the chat or you can unmute your mic and ask it directly. Okay. 1 minute for questions if anything is not understood. විනාඩයක් ඇතුළත මොනවා හරි තේරුම් නැත්නම් අහන්න පුළුවන්. Good question. What do you mean by query? So I get a direct message. I get, what do you mean by querying? Querying mean retrieving data. Right? Okay. Querying mean retrieving or getting the data that is stored in a database. That is called a query. Query කියලා කියන්නේ database එකේ දැනට store කරලා තියෙන data අපි කියවන එකට. කියවන්න අපි ඒකට යවනවා අපිට මොනවද ඕනේ කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට දැන් අපි හිතමු, so let's say we have a database of students. So student database has got let's say the students who have participated or who have registered in this university from 2001, year 2001 to 2021. So we have so there are many questions I'm getting, right? So it's good that you can discuss it and go forward. So let's say we have a big database which is having students from who have registered from year 2001 to 2021. Now when you take this entire set of students, let's say we want the students who have registered in 2015 only. So you tell the database, give me the students who have registered in this university in the 2015 intake or 2015 year 2015, right? Or we call it 2015 intake. So when you specify it like that, then the database will give that set of records. So there's a way that you can specify it using Microsoft Access. Or there's another advanced way of specifying it using a language called SQL. We call it structured query language. So using structured query language or using the available tools in certain databases, I will not use certain words here because they are coming in the future. So using those kind of stuff, you can retrieve the data. So that particular request that you send to the database to retrieve the data is called a query. I hope you understood the point. Then there are some more questions. What is the difference between data update and data expand? Okay, let's say now in this same database, we have a student with a CPM number 14,000. That means 14000. That's the student's CPM number. Now this student has a phone number that he has used to register. So let's say this student registered in the university in 2014, year 2014. So this student now has change his phone number after some time. Okay, so the student has changed the phone number after some time. So now that has to be what? Updated. So now that is called a data update. So that particular phone number of that record has to be updated, and we call it updating of the record. Then expanding. What is expanding? So that's question that are being asked by the students. So expansion mean, so expansion can happen in different ways. One is adding more records. So let's say now in 2022 we take another batch. So then you have to add another 1,200 plus records into the database. So that is expanding the data of the table. Right? Also, the data expansion can happen even horizontally. It's like, let's say we are expecting to add another column to hold the guardian's name of the student. Let's say it is not there right now. So we want to also store the guardian's name of the student. So we are going to add another column to the table. So that is another expansion. So like this, so there are various different interpretations of this expansion. And the fourth point is being requested to be explained again. So I will tell. So for example, now, so I hope that you got this I hope you understood this point that I explained. So there are certain things, querying I explained. So there's a necessity to explain the fourth point. And okay, in fourth point, there are certain things that are being again and again queried. So I think most of you have not understood the fourth point. So let's go into that again, and let's discuss it with an example. So as I told you, I will take the same example that I took. So if you take the website eBay, now I told you at a certain point of time, let's say now the time is, let's say 8:46 a.m. So from 8:46 a.m. to 8:47 a.m. people are using this website to put their orders, right? So let's say now, okay, we will take something else. We will do something. We will discuss about Facebook. This will be too complex. eBay might be, because someone who has not used eBay will get into trouble and understand certain things like shopping cart and other stuff. So we'll take a different example. We will take Facebook. Facebook, I know most of you have used it. So now, if you take Facebook from 8:47 a.m. to 8:48 a.m., let's say there are 100 new users are getting registered. That means 100 new accounts are getting created. Now, when these 100 new accounts are getting created, so these users are entering their first name, their last name, email address, then date of birth, right, age verification. So they are entering everything together. And also they will sometimes use this captcha to make sure that it is not a robot that is registering. So all these things they will do within a 1 minute of time. So within a 1 minute of time, then this Facebook database is getting a load of work of 100 users, right? That means it is getting a request to store the data of 100 users within a 1 minute. So we call it a workload. Right? So normally just don't think it in technical terms. Let's say the word workload is a certain amount of work that you have to do. So let's say sometimes you say my workload is very heavy these days. So that means a set of work that you have to do. That means sometimes it will be high, it will be low. So for example, for database also, when you put these kind of registration requests, it will get a higher workload. So workload එක පාර දැන් මිනිත් එකක් විතර ඇතුළත ඔය users 100 දෙනෙක් විතර register වෙනකොට එකපාර එනවා අර Facebook එකේ database server එකට request 100ක්. අන්න ඒකට කියන අපි workload එකක් කියලා. So now there's another question, what is this running applications against it? Running applications against it mean once you have a database, you can use that database with another software. With that software will be used to send requests to the database for updating, deleting, querying, and inserting data. So we call it running an application against it. So now, for example, if you take in supermarkets, you have seen there's a point of sale terminal. The supermarket වල දැකලා ඇති cashier එකට ගියාට පස්සේ එතන තියෙනවා system එක. So you can see there's a system, and also and that system is connected to a central database. A system එක connect වෙලා තියෙන මොකටද? Database එකට. The database is having product information, the prices, right? How many items are there? Those things are, and whether there are discounts for certain items. So if you take that particular database, that database is connected with what? That particular software that these cashiers are using, or the point of sale persons are using a certain software in that computer, and that is called an application. අපි ඒකට කියන application එකක් කියලා. කියන්නේ අර ඒ software එකට අපි කියන application එකක් කියලා. ඔය application කියන වචනේ එතකොට මෙතනදී ඇත්තටම ගන්නෙ මොකද්ද? software එක. ඒ software එක use වෙනවා අර මොකක්ද එක්කද? The software is getting used with that database. So I hope I answered all the questions and you are cooperative actually parts. So I know that you are listening. So it's a good sign that you ask questions like this in case you can't understand. Okay, let's move on. So I think I explained everything. If certain things are not explained, we will have to discuss it in the interactive session as well. In certain points, since we have to have some time schedule, so since it's the first day, of course, it is better if you ask questions. In some situations, there may be times that we have to cover up certain set of slides within a certain time limit. So this may be applicable for certain other lessons as well, right? So today we can do leisurely, but towards the end of this lecture series, we will have a time limitation. So all your questions you have to direct sometimes for the interactive session. Today it's fine, but sometimes if your question is not answered, don't get upset. Always direct that question to the interactive session that you are going to have in the Thursday. Right? So again, other than ඔක්කොම questions වලම උත්තර දුන්නා. සමහර දවසට ඕක කරන්න බැරි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද අපේ පොඩි ටාගට් එකකට යන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මේ අද දවසේ ඇතුළත මේ කරන ටික දැන් මෙන්න මේ ටික කරන්න කියලා අපි එනවා. දැන් අපි හිතමු දැන් මේ ඔක්කොම කරන්න යද්දි අපිට වෙලා මදි වුණොත් එහෙම ඊට පස්සේ ඊළඟ දවසේ ඕක කරන්නත් පොඩි ප්‍රශ්නයක් එන හින්දා සමහර ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර නොදුන්නොත් හිත සවුත්තු කරගන්න නැතුව අමනාප කරගන්න නැතුව ඊළඟ ඉන්ටරැක්ටිව් සෙෂන් එකේදී අන්නේ ප්‍රශ්නේ අනිවාර්යෙන් ඒ තමන්ගේ මේ ලෙක්චර් කරන ඒ සර්ගෙන් හරි මිස්ගෙන් හරි අනිවාර්යෙන් අහලා ඒවා සෝට් අවුට් කරගන්න ඕනේ. දැන් පළවෙනි දවසේ දැන් මේක ලෙක්චර් එකේ මේ ප්‍රශ්න අහලා ඒ ටික සෝට් අවුට් කරගත්තට ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. සමහරට උත්තර දෙන්න බැරි වුණොත් විතරක් මම මේ කියන්නේ. මොකද සමහරලාට එහෙම කරන්න වෙයි. වෙලාව අනුව. ඒතකොට ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් ඇහුවොත් ඒවයින් 3කට 4කට උත්තර දීලා යනකොට අනිත් ප්‍රශ්නවල අහපු කට්ටිය අප්සෙට් යන්න එපා. ඒක ඊළඟ අනිවාර්යෙන් ඊළඟ දවසේ හරි අහන්න. ප්‍රධානම අවශ්‍යම කරන ඒවා ටික මම අනිවාර්යෙන් බලලා උත්තර දෙනවා. මොකද ඒව නැතුව ඉස්සරහට තියෙන දේවල් තේරෙන්නේ නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So there may be certain problems that you can't understand certain things in the future in the same lesson series. Okay, then let's go to the next. So before databases, what was there? Flat files. Right? I hope you understood everything that I just explained for your questions. මම හිතන දැන් හැමෝම තේරුම් ගන්න ඇති මම කිව්ව ටික මේ ওই questions වලට උත්තර විදියට කිව්වා. ඒ වයිම මාත් තිබ්බොත් ආය අහන්න මේ අතර මම ඒකට ඒක බලලා උත්තර දෙන්න. So next one is before databases. Anyway, you should have had another method to store this data. Database එන්න කලින් ක්‍රමයක් තියෙන්න එපා මොනවා හරි data store කරන database කියන එක මෑතකදී ආපු එකක් නම් ඊටත් කලින් කොහොමද data store කරන්නේ? So database කියන එක එන්න කලින් කොහොමද data store කරලා කියලා බලනකොට අපි දන්නවා එතකොට ඒක තිබිලා තියෙන flat file system කියන නැත්නම් flat files වල තමයි data store කරන්නේ. So you should know that before the databases flat files were used to store the data. So flat file එක මොකක්ද? Just a text file. So if you take text file, the data is stored in this manner. So you can see now these are patient information stored in a patient information management system. So you can see how they are being stored. Then store කරලා තියෙන විදිහ. So you can see on the top row උඩින්ම තියෙන row එකේ දැන් මේ ටික කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? මේක තියෙන්නේ file එකේ. Sorry. So this is in a file. The file එක මම type කරලා පෙන්නුව චුට්ටක්. Patient ID name DOB ඔන්නෝම ඔය ටික type කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ ඊට අදාළ so whatever is going to be relevant for patient ID, you are going to have it at the first column data item, right? Then you are going to have the name of the person. Then you're going to have the date of birth. So like this, you will have the data recorded in this manner. Those are මොකද්ද මේකෙන් ගන්න බැලුවම තේරෙන්නේ. On the top, you have the column headings. And the first column heading is this. This is the second column heading. This is called a delimiter. මේකට අපි කියනවා delimiter එකක් කියලා. To separate these components of a record, you use this delimiter. The record එකේ තියෙන කොටස් ටික වෙන් කරන්න ඔය delimiter එක use කරනවා. So this is the header record or the particular record that is explaining what data that you have after this point. මේකෙන් පස්සේ දෙන data මොනවද කියලා explain කරන එක තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. Then in the next line you have the actual data. ඊට පස්සේ line එක ඇත්තටම data තියෙනවා. So here 134 is the patient ID. Name is Jeff is going to be the name. Date of birth is going to be this. Gender is going to be like that. So in parallel to these columns, you have this actual data. So like this, you can have even 1,000 or 10,000 records. And that should be accordingly processed by a software also. So if you take this file should have been used by a patient record management system or a patient information management system, or we can say patient data management system. So different words that we can use for the same the particular file system that is going to utilize this file. The file එක use කරන system එකේ නම ගැන මම සඳහන් කරේ එහෙමයක් තමයි මේක use කරන්න නැත්තේ. ඒතකොට මේකේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ බැලුවොත් මේ ෆයිල් එක මුලින්ම තියෙන column headings ටික ඊට යටින් තියෙන ඇත්තම තියෙන data එක. එතකොට අර patient ID එක 134 නම් ඊට සමගාමීව තියෙන පළවෙනි column එක දැන් අපි හිතමු මෙතන පල්ලෙහාම record එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට පල්ලෙහාම තියෙන record එකේ මුලින්ම තියෙන මොකද්ද? ඔය හැම වෙලාවෙම patient ID. දෙවෙනිට තියෙන්නේ name එක. ඒ විදිහට දාන්න ඕනේ. You have to just insert data in that time. එකක් හරි empty නම් අපි හිතමු එක අපි හිතමු දැන් මෙතන so let's say the patient name is missing. Patient ගේ නම මොකක් හරි වෙලා මේ හොයාගන්න. එහෙනම් ඔන්න කමා එකක් හරි දාලා අඩු ගානේ මේ වෙන් කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ ওই විදිහට තියන්න. So if you don't have the patient's name, at least you have to have the empty space there. So this is not actually, even though you see it as simple, if you have any exposure to programming, you will understand this is going to be a real headache when this file is going to grow and when this file is going to be read, right? That is going to be a real headache. So if you have large amount of records in this file, that is going to be the biggest problem. Processing a large text file is going to have a lot of time consumption, lot of issues. So we will come to the issues of the flat file system sooner. So before that, there are some questions you can see. Can you explain the delimiter? Delimiter is a certain special character that you use to separate one data item by the other. So delimiter can be, most of the time you use a comma. Sometimes some delimiters, some people use the colon, some people use semicolon. So most of the time the comma is the most commonly used delimiter. Delimiter කියලා කියන්නේ එක මේ data item එක මේ record එකක data item එකක් එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ columns කියලා කියන්නේ පස්සේ දැන් මේ columns කියන වචනේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ මම. මේ data item එකක් තව data item එකකින් වෙන් කරන්න use කරන මෙන්න මේ separator එකට තමයි delimiter කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒ වචන ගොඩාක් ඉතින් දැනගන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. මම මේ කියවුණා නැත්නම් delimiter කියන මම කියන්නේ මෙතන පොඩ්ඩක් කියවුණා එක. ඒවා ඇත්තට දැනගන්නෙම ලොකුවට කල්පනා කරන්න යන්න එපා. 아무තු වචන හම්බ වෙනවා. So there are හරි. So you have to just understand this concept of a flat file. Flat file කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා දැනගත්තා නම් විශේෂයෙන් හරි තියෙන විදිය සහ මේකේ disadvantages ටික. So make sure that you go through the disadvantages of the flat file system and make sure that you always be ready for the interactive session to discuss them in detail. Remember that you should keep in mind the disadvantages of the flat file systems mainly. Okay, so let's come to and now this is a flat file. So we will come to a environment where the flat files are heavily used. The flat files used an environment data pin. Make it so. Have a look at this particular environment. So meanwhile, let's see. You can see now this is, so when you look at this, you can understand that this is something related to the university. It is something that is related to the university where it is maintaining data about different sections or different departments or different units with related to the university. So you can see general administration section, library, medical center, welfare division, exam department, faculty. So those are the divisions. Inside each division, you are going to have a software that is maintaining the data. So general administration division is having a registration program. That is the application that they are using to maintain the information with regards to general administration. Library is also having the library program or library application, or we can say library management system. So I'm just giving synonyms for this library program. And it is also going to have a file So all these are flat files, right? So this is a flat file which is storing data in this way. මෙන්න මෙහෙම data තියාගන්න flat file එක තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. This is again another flat file. This is again another flat file. Do you find any problem in this, or do you find any inefficiency here? What පේනවද මේක මොකක් හරි නිකන් අර ප්‍රශ්නයක් නිකන් දැක ගමන් මොකක් හරි තියනවද කියන්න මොනවා. So all these are separate systems. We call them disparate systems. මේ ඔක්කොම separate තියෙන්නේ. So each and every division has a software as well as there's a separate file that is maintaining the data. So I'm getting one answer, no collaboration. Okay, we'll just keep that. I get the answer, duplications. What is it? Actually, you have duplicate data. So there are other stuff, there are other problems also. So you can see, so another one gave the answer. The student name and the address, what has happened? They have been repeated. Here, again here. So I'll go to the next slide. Let's see. So if I go to the next slide, you can see the red color items are repeated. දැන් පේනවා ඇති මෙතන මේ ෆයිල්ස් වල තියෙන මේ රතු පාටින් මම දාලා තියෙන ඒ information student name එකයි address එකයි මොකක්ද දාලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක තියෙනවා හැම ෆයිල් එකකම තියෙනවා. So having this in each and every file, what kind of problems you will face? මොන වගේ ප්‍රශ්න දෙන්නේ මෙහෙම හැම ෆයිල් එකකම මෙහෙම තියෙන්න ගියොත් මේක. We'll discuss, right, before we proceed to the what kind of problems will you face if we have data in this manner? Storage, yes. First one, waste of storage due to what data we call a special name there, data redundancy. What is the redundancy? Redundancy. Redundancy means having the same data in many places. So we call it data redundancy or having duplicate data. Okay. Then number 2. Okay. So waste of time. So I'm getting the answer that you give, right? Waste of time due to, first thing is what? Enter the same data into 6 files repetitively so that is a waste of time. And what will happen if we want to update the one record? Let's say now this student, let's say there's a one student who has changed his address. Now he has come to the university. Now he has registered in all these systems. And now in his 3rd year, he decides to go to another. His parents have purchased another house in somewhere closer to the university. So now the address now has to be changed. In how many places do you have to change it? Update this. Update the data in 6 places. So that means to do a one change, you have to do it. The workload is going to be 6 times. කියන්නේ එකම එක වැඩක් කියන්නේ එක තැනක් අප්ඩේට් කරනකොට මතක ඇතුව 6 දැන් 6ක් අප්ඩේට් කරන්න වෙනවානේ. You have to so data redundancy කියලා කියන්නේ data redundancy mean having the same data in many places or having data or duplicate records, right? Data redundancy having duplicate records for data. That is called data redundancy. So that's a question: what is data redundancies? So let's see. And is that only things that can happen? Next are the available. What else? Anything else? Yeah, cost is high, so you need more. So high cost. You need more resources to maintain these files, right? Because there are 6 separate files. So the time that you have to spend in maintaining these separate files, if there is 2 or 3 people to do that, then it will be a high time consumption. So time is money, so you have to pay these people. So that is, the cost is going to be high. And what will happen? So before that, I had to explain something else. Now I told you, if that student changes his address, you should remember to update 6 places. What if you forget to update 2 or 3 places? So you will not have data consistency. So you will have data inconsistency or data integrity issues. We call them also. That means not having uniform data across these files. You can data සමාන නැති වෙනවා. දැන් අපි හිතමු මේ අර ස්ටුඩන්ට් මං කිව්ව අර පදිංචිය වෙනස් කරා කියලා ස්ටුඩන්ට් කෙනෙක්. දැන් එයා කැම්පස් එක ළඟ තැනකට එනවා. එතකොට මේ එයා ඉන්ෆෝම් කරන ෆැකල්ටි එක. මම මේ එහෙම ආව. එතකොට මේ ෆැකල්ටි අප්ඩේට් වෙනවා. අනිත් තැන් වලටත් එයා ගිහිල්ලා ඉන්ෆෝම් කරනවද? ඒකද අපි දන්නේ නැහැ. අපි හිතමු එයා ගිහිල්ලා ඉන්ෆෝම් කරලා එයාට අමතක වෙනවා අනිත් තැන් වලට කියලා. එයාට කියන්නේ දැන් දෙහෙර විතරක් කියනවා. එයා වැඩි යන ලයිබ්‍රරි එකටයි ෆැකල්ටි එකටයි. දැන් මේකේ මේ දෙකේ අප්ඩේට් වෙලා තියෙනවා. Then student information අපි හිතමු medical center එකෙන් දැන් එයා ළමයාට ලියුමක් යවන්න යන මොකක් හරි ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් දෙන්න කියලා මොකක් හරි ටෙස්ට් එකක් කරන්න. දැන් යවන්නේ පරණ ඇඩ්‍රස් එක. මොකද තියෙන්නේ අප්ඩේට් වුණාට මේ තැන්වල මේක අප්ඩේට් වෙලා නැහැ. So even though it is updated in these 2 places, this is not updated. So now මොකද වෙන්නේ? දැන් මේ එකම ස්ටුඩන්ට් එකම කැම්පස් එක ඇතුලේ ඇඩ්‍රස් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. You have 2 addresses for the same student within the same university, which is going to lead to some data integrity issues, which will also lead to a data inconsistency, no uniformity across the disparate systems here. So you can see that. So I get a lot of answers, very good. So you keep on participating actively to this. So I see. So some of the answers I will just tell for others reference because I have got many direct messages. So I can see there are so many, right? Actually, I appreciate this, and I'm really sorry certain things I cannot, because I cannot tell each and every of them because there are so many answers. ගොඩාක් ඒවලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකින්ද මේ හැම එකම අරගෙන කියන්න වෙලාවක් නැති වෙයි. ඒ වුණාට හරි වටිනවා. ඉතින් ඔයගොල්ලෝ මෙහෙම reply කරලා මෙහෙම cooperate කරන එකට. එතකොට ඒ විදිහට දිගටම තියන්න. So actively participate in these lessons. I hope you will continue this behavior or attitude even for the future lessons as well. So there I have got many things like search result. Searching is difficult. Then harder to update. Of course, it is hard. Comparison is difficult. Yes, you can't compare 6 files. That is difficult. So that is for checking the integrity. Integrity check is difficult. Then complex. Then sorting is difficult. Difficult to query. Of course, for flat files, querying is difficult. That is because writing a program for querying data, you have to work hard, not like in querying from a database. Then maintenance is difficult, right? Less efficient, not convenient. Okay, so many answers. Thank you very much for your participation into these answers, giving answers. So collaboration is expected here in these lessons that much. Okay, so I think you understood the problems in flat file. Right? So let's see an example that is, now you saw that this is a high level diagram of how the data is maintained. We will go into a low level. Low level mean a detailed diagram. Then make it again a high level diagram. Make it pennana data කොහොමද තියෙන්නේ කියලා නේ. මෙතන නිකන් පෙන්නනවා මේ ස්ටුඩන්ට් නේම් එකයි මේකයි මෙහෙම තියෙනවා කියලා පෙන්නනවා විතර. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ දෙක තියෙනවා කියලා පෙන්නනවා මේවා කොහොමද ඇත්තටම ස්ටුඩන්ට් ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන් ටිකක් වැඩිපුර අරගෙන අපි ඩිස්කස් කරමු තව එක්සැම්පල් එකක් අරගෙන. So we will discuss another example with more data, with some details. Right? I hope you understood the points up to now. Let's move on to the next section of it. Example for managing data using flat files. Imagine that in Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, the administrative staff is going to collect the data of the students and their enrolled degree programs. Let's imagine how this data is maintained in a flat file. That බලමු මේ කියන්නේ මේ administrative staff එක මේ students ලගේ data කියන්නේ එකතු කරන්න යනවා මේ degree programs වලට enroll වෙලා ඉන්න විදිය. ඒ කියන්නේ enroll වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මොන මොන degree programs වලටද කියලා හොයාගන්න මෙන්න මෙහෙම ෆයිල් එකක් maintain කරන්න යනවා. දැන් මේකෙත් ඔයාලට පේන ඇති ප්‍රශ්න ටික මොනවද තියෙන්නේ කියලා නිකන් බැලුවම. So once you look at it, you will see some problems. I hope you can figure out the problems available here. This is a flat file. Within flat file like කියලා කිව්වම මෙහෙම එකක්ම වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ හොඳේ. So a flat file may not be something like this. Even an Excel sheet එකක් වුණත් flat file එකක් තමයි. Because you know that we don't call an Excel sheet as a database. අපි කවදාවත් Excel sheet එක database එකක් කියලා නෑ මෙතෙක් කාලයක් නේ. You know that you have done first semester practicals. So we have used spreadsheets. And at that time, we never introduced spreadsheets as databases. So there's a request to show the notepad again. Okay, I will keep the notepad down here like this so you can write whatever you want. Meanwhile, I hope it is visible. Notepad එක තියලා පොඩ්ඩක් පෙන්නන්න කියලා පොඩි request එකක් ආව නොහොම තිබ්බාවේ දැන් ඒ අතරේ මම මේක කියන්න. Okay, then I was explaining about mainly the flat file. So whatever, if you have even data in an Excel sheet or a spreadsheet, that is also flat file because it is not having any logical relationship within itself among the data. We will see the difference between a database and a normal flat file, right? That is going to be really important to understand the difference of flat files and databases. Now here, if you take this one, this is again a flat file which is storing the data of the students and their enrolled degree programs with the respective department that the particular degree program is offering as well as the head of the department. Now, can you see the same problem here? You can see the degree name. is appearing in several places. Now, if you take BSc Management Information Systems, then BSc Management Accounting Special, BSc Business Administration, again, you can see the same item is appearing here. Here again, you can see the same item appears. Business Administration appears here. Similarly, in parallel to that, you can see the same thing appears also here. Department of Accounting appears here. Department of Business Administration, and the same manner you can see this the head of the department field is also getting repeated like this. So this may be not that much good to jumble it like that, but you should understand that same thing is getting repeated like this. This is getting repeated here. KH Fernando is repeated here. So if you have now, let's say 1,200 records, or let's say 1,000 records, you know that this is going to be repeated like that. So the storage requirement for this, you can see the calculation is done down there. And approximately the number of bytes, because you know that we measure the data or the storage requirement in bytes. So 1 byte can, if you imagine a 1 byte can store a 1 letter. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එක byte එකක් ගත්තොත් අපි නිකන් හිතුවොත් එක byte එකකින් අපිට පුළුවන් එක අකුරක් හෝ එක අංකයක් මේ store කරන්න. So if you just consider that a 1 byte is able to store a 1 letter or a 1 number. The method amount 10 bytes, you can see this will store 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So maximum is 10. උපරිම අංක 10ක ටෙලිෆෝන් නම්බර් ස්ටෝර් කරන්න පුළුවන් field එක තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ. So this is 100 bytes. That means you should have more space here for storing more characters. This is also 100 bytes. So if 100 bytes are allocated, if you have 10 characters or if you have 100 characters, whatever, this 100 byte is normally reserved for this particular record. කියන්නේ අපි මේ record එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම මේ record එකේ දැන් මේ මෙතන අකුරු පහක් තිබ්බත් ගොඩක් කරාට මේ 100ම වෙන් වෙලා තියෙනවා. කියන්නේ ඉතින් ටික waste වෙනවා. So that is one nature. So therefore, now if you take the storage requirement for this, then හිතලා බලන්න මෙන්න මේ පිටක් බලන්න. The storage requirement for, so there's a spelling mistake here, I will just fix this one. The storage requirement is, now let's say for a 1 record altogether, if you add all these stuff up, මේ ඔක්කොම එකතු කරොත් කීයක් එනවද? 470. You will get 470 bytes per 1 record. And if you have 10,000 records like that, you will get this much of, that means 4,700,000 bytes are necessary for this particular data file to store all this data. එතකොට මේ වගේ ප්‍රමාණයක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. මේ වගේ එකක් අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. මේ data store කරන්න. So I am getting another question. Excel is a software, isn't it? Then what is the difference between software and a platform? So it's like this. Excel is storing the data in a certain arrangement, but it is not a database. Okay? So if you take even Microsoft Word is storing the data of your document. So if you type something, It is storing it in a certain way. And when you run Microsoft Word to open up that particular file that you have stored in the hard disk, it will read that content out of that particular uh, stored location and display it in a certain formatted way. Once you take an Excel file, it is the same. It is storing the data in a certain formatted manner. And I will explain this when we come to the databases in further. So once you take even a file that is stored as a text file as well as a file that is stored as a spreadsheet, both are files. Spreadsheet is storing it in a certain manner that is specific for MS Excel spreadsheets. Flat file, if you take a text file, just a normal text file, it is storing it in a different way. So the ways the file, the data is stored inside it, the formatted, the way that is formatted, the way that is compressed. So based on that, it will be changed. So it is not that easy to explain it in this context at this small amount of time. So once we come to the database management systems, I will explain this question again and let you understand it further. Right, I hope this one is clear now. There are some problems again. Right? You can see here BSc management information. So this is repeated. So when you have this, you have the same set of questions again. So this is about having the same data in different places in different systems. This is having the same data in the same file multiple times. ඔන්න අවස්ථා දෙකක් හොඳේ මේ දෙක වෙන කරලා අඳුර ගන්න මෙතන තියෙන්නේ එකම data එක සිස්ටම් ගණනාවක තියෙන වෙන වෙන ෆැට් ෆයිල්ස් වල තියෙන අවස්ථාව මේ තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද මේ තියෙන්නේ එකම ෆයිල් එක ඇතුලේ එකම data මේ record එක එකම data item එක මෙතන එකම data value වෙන අපි කියලා අපි so inside the same file we have the same data value multiple times. ඉතින් මෙතනත් එන්නේ මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙම තමයි අතන සර්ච් කරන මේ අපිට හිතමු දැන් මේ ඩිග්‍රී ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක නම වෙනස් වුණා කියන්නේ. නැත්නම් අපි හිතමු මෙතන ඉන්න හෙඩ් කෙනෙක් මාරු වුණා. දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? So if the head changes, so now if you have 10,000 records, you have to update all the 10,000 records to the new head of the department. අලුත් හෙඩ් කෙනෙක් ආව නම් ඉන්න හෙඩ් මාරු වෙලා දැන් ඔන්න හැමතැනම ඒ හෙඩ් රෙකෝඩ් එක තියෙන හැමතැනම මේ නම වෙනස් කරගෙන යන්න වෙනවානේ. එතකොට මේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න ටික ආයෙත් නැද්ද? You get all these problems here. Waste of storage, waste of time. එතකොට එහෙම 1000ක් දැන් මෙතන 10000ක් තියෙන්නේ. එකක් හරි මිස් වුණොත් මොකක් හරි වෙලා. So if you just miss the one, so normally we do it using a software. But if you do manually, if you miss 2 or 3 records, then data is not going to be consistent. Then higher cost is going to be there because you are spending a lot of time there. Okay. Now you can understand these problems that I explained. Then බලන්න මේ ඕගොල්ලෝ මෙතන තියෙන සමහර ඒවා ඕගොල්ලෝම කිව්වා තියෙනවා. So before I come here, come to this application, this disadvantages, you yourself have introduced many of these. කියන්නේ මට ඇත්තටම කියන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් ඇත්තම නැහැ මෙතන. I don't have any requirement to tell these things here again because you have already by yourself you have just introduced these things to me, right? As direct messages you have sent. So now you know what data redundancy, you know what data integrity, right? The consistent, the word consistent is not there, but remember that it is again about having inconsistent data. Inefficient, you saw why it is even inefficient. You have a high maintenance cost. Sharing data is difficult because it is not easy to share a data that is used. I mean, it is difficult to share the data in a one file with the others because main thing is in a database environment, you will see why it is easy. Because if you take a flat file, the flat file is difficult to be shared among multiple applications. because this flat file will be concurrently accessed. That means at the same time, if you are accessing a flat file, there will be, so that means if 2 or 3 people, for example, let's say, if 2 or 3 applications are going to update the same file or read the same file, then that will be not safe, because if these 2 or 3 applications are going to update the same student information of that particular file at the same time, එකම වෙලාවේ දැන් අපි හිතමු application 3-4ක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ share කරන කතාව කියන්නේ application දෙකකින් තුනකින් එකම file එක use කරනවා කියන එක තමයි මෙතන කතාව වෙන්නේ කියන්නේ. එතකොට data share කරනකොට එකම file එක applications එහෙම නැත්නම් softwares තුනකින් එකම වෙලාවෙ use කරන්න ගියොත් ඔයාලට හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද මොකද ප්‍රශ්නයක් එන්න පුළුවන් කියලා? එතකොට එක රෙකෝඩ් එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා අපි හිතමු. ඒ එකම රෙකෝඩ් එක අපි හිතමු එක ළමයෙක්ගේ රෙකෝඩ් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ එකම වෙලාවේ දැන් ওই ඇප්ලිකේෂන් තුනම ඒ රෙකෝඩ් එකම අපි කියන කරුමට වෙනවා කියන්නේ. එකම රෙකෝඩ් එක. So you just with a in a with a very bad luck, all these 3 applications are going to update the same record at the same time. දැන් එකම වෙලාවේ අර එකම රෙකෝඩ් එක ඇප්ලිකේෂන් තුනෙම අප්ඩේට් කරනවා කියන්නේ අපිට හිතා ගන්න බැහැ අන්තිමට ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ මොකෙන් කරපු අප්ඩේට් එකද? අන්න ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න. So we call them, actually these are discussed in computer programming in multi-threaded environment. So we will not discuss them in detail, but so that is what we call as sharing is course. ඔන්න මම sharing කියන එක ගැන අර detail level එකටම ගිහිල්ලා ඔය කිව්වේ. ඊට වඩා සරලව කියන්න දේවල් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ sharing කරන්න බෑ අමාරු කියන එක මට දැන් තව හොයන්න. So before the interactive session, find more details about it. Weak security, because the file is going to be එකනේ කතරම weak security එක මට එවලා තිබ්බා මේක. හරියට හරි. So weak security means because this is a text file. දැන් මේ අපි හිතමු අපි, so let's say now I will draw it here. Okay, so now this is an application. Api to made an application. So this is software, right? Software application. This is using a flat file to store the data. So my drawings are not that much beautiful. So please excuse me for that. So made in the software application. Main api kawuru hari user. So this is a user. This is the flat file. Then flat file flat file. Then let's say now this is the user. User නිකන් බෝලයක් දානවා නේ පොඩ්ඩක්. බෝල් කරනවා කියන්නේ. So don't just think about these different shapes that I draw, right? So imagine that is a user, right? You can. So this is SA means software application. Now, where do you have this file? Then my file එක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? Computer එකේ file එක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ කියලා කියන්න බෑ. ඔයාලට මේ කරපු දේ තේරුණා. Where do you have this file? In the, yes. I'm expecting answers, right? Where do you have that file? In the hard disk. So no one responded me. You have that file in the hard disk. So now when you install this application, when you install the software, if it is using a flat file to store the data, then if you are using a flat file to store the data, then the file also will be copied from the CD that you are using to install this application into the hard disk. So maybe in your program files, that we program files ගත්තම මේ program files ඇතුලේ කොහේ හරි මේක install වෙලා තියෙනකොට කොහේ හරි තියෙන තැනක ඔය මේ වගේ file එකක් ඉදිරියක කොහේ හරි තියෙනවා. Then So a normal user now let's say this file is having payroll information of the employees of an organization. Then මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ file එක අපි මේ software application එක කරන්නේ payroll system එක මේ තියෙන්නේ. So let's say this is a payroll system. So when this file is when this software is being installed in the computer into a certain location in C drive under program files, this all the files that are necessary to run the software with including this flat file which is stored in the data is getting copied. Now the user will access the system using a username and a password. මෙතන username එකේ password එක ගාලා ඔන්න access කරනවා system එකේ. ඒතකොට flat file එකේ තියෙන data මෙතන read කරලා මේකට බලන්න පුළුවන් මේ user ට බලන්න පුළුවන්. So the user can observe the data that is in the flat file. Flat file එකේ තියෙන data ඔන්න ඔහොම බලන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි දැන් ඒ user හිතන්නේ දැන් මේක වෙන කාටවත් බලන්න බෑ. යාට විතරයි මේ system එකෙන් username එක password එක දානවා නම් විතරයි බලන්න පුළුවන්. මේ systems ගැන flat file එක ගැන දන්න systems ගැන හොඳට දන්න software developer කෙනෙක් හරි නැත්නම් hacker කෙනෙක් හරි ආවොත් මිනිහා දැනගත්තොත් මේ තියෙන flat file එක නම් මේක data තියෙන්නේ කියලා දැනගත්ත ගමන් මිනිහා යනවා මොකද කරන්නේ? යනවා කෙලින්ම අර folder එකට ගිහිල්ලා ඕක නිකන් හොයනවා තියනවාද කියලා. text file එක ගන්න දෙන්නේ කෙලින්ම මේක open කරගන්න පුළුවන්. So direct access is there. Because of that, we have what? Weak security. The data is exposed from the hard disk itself to the users of the computer. So it is not controlled completely by the software. The access to this file is not completely controlled by the software. It is just a file which even you can copy to a pen drive and go to another computer and open it up and read whatever content inside it. So you can see that is having a less security, but database is not going to be that like that. Database is having a secure access because it is controlled by entirely a database management system, which you will be studying in few, not today actually. I don't think we can have time to do it today. Right? Then application dependent. What is it? So these flat files are depending on the application. I mean, it's like this now. The flat file that is used in this general administration section is not going to be readable in here. Again, මෙන්න මේතන පාවිච්චි කරන ෆයිල් එක ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මෙතනදී use කරන්න බෑ. So whatever you use here is not usable here. මෙතන පාවිච්චි කරන කාය මේක use කරන්න බෑ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක depend වෙනවා application එක මත. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක so if you take this particular application, this one, it can read only data in a certain format that is specifically designed to be only for this application. ඒ කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේකට එක format එකකටම මේ file එක තියෙනවා. ඒ format එක නෙවෙයි මේකේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒ format එක නෙවෙයි මේක. දැන් අපි හිතමු මේක උදාහරණයක් විදිහට. So let's say I told you about delimiters. So let's say if you imagine that these are not patient ID, let's say it is student ID. So if you take this as student ID, now if you take this, අපි මේක ගත්තම මේ අපිට මේ general admin file එක ගත්තොත් මේකේ තියෙන්නේ කමා එක. ඒතකොට මේක හදපු කෙනා හදලා තියෙන අපි හිතමු so this software is made by company A. The software company A developed this software and the flat file. So they have used the delimiter as comma. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ separate කරන්න use කරනවා comma. ඒතකොට ඊට හරියට තමයි software එකක් ලියන්නේ හදන්නේ. ඒතකොට comma එකෙන් තමයි මෙයා expect කරන්නේ separate වෙන records. මේක හදනවා වෙන company B. So they use delimiter as not the comma but they will use a semicolon. ඔන්න දැන් වෙනස් වෙනවා මෙතන. ඊළඟ system එක හදන්නේ C කියන company. So C is going to create the next system and they will use completely a different. දැන් මෙතන semicolon තියෙනවා. The C කියන company මොකද කරන්නේ? යා ඕවා ගැන මේ බලන්නේ කියන්නේ මේක මොකද්ද කරලා තියෙන්නේ එහා පැත්තේ කෙනා හදන විදිය මොකුත් බලන්නේ මෙයා මොකද කරන්නේ මෙයා දානවා මේකට slash එකක් දානවා so they will put a slash so now you should understand that if you put things like this ඒ කියන්නේ මේකේ දැන් මේ මෙන්න මේ ෆයිල් එක තමයි තියෙන්නේ so this is this file so this file is completely only supporting this program it will not support this මේක support කරන්නේ ඒක තමයි application dependent කියලා කියන්නේ so this file completely depending on its application so another application cannot use the file designed for another application I hope you understood that one right so there are questions about what is meant by application dependent so that is a so the when you if you get software developers they know that how difficult to do these kind of updates and even to query from this kind of a flat file it is really a headache right? It's a lot of effort that they have to take okay because of these problems that we have in this we are introducing the database the database is an organized collection of structured information or data typically stored electronically in a computer system. That's the definition. So I will not keep on this definition for long. Let's go to the next. Okay. So I think you can discuss this in the interactive session because we have already discussed this in detail because you actually gave me your answers and I also develop another answer set with you so also you saw this one so therefore let's not spend time on this we will go to the next now database model so before understanding designing of a database we have to understand what a database model is so the database model shows the logical structure of a database or how the internal components or how the internal data are related to each other. So when you read this one, you can see database is an organized collection of structured information. Now when you take this database model is, now database is one thing, database model is another thing. So database model shows the logical structure of a database, including their relationships, or how the data is related to each other, and constraints that determine how data can be stored and accessed. That means how different components within the database are getting connected to each other. Now, when you look, when you take this, you can see the database models. They had an evolution. So starting from flat files, flat file is not a database model, but you should remember after flat files with the invention of databases, the first database model that was in action was hierarchical database model. Then the network database model is the next evolved database model from hierarchical model. Then the most commonly used database model, even that is even used today, is called the relational database model. Then we have object-oriented, multidimensional. You can see the years as well, and how the data is even organized. And I will show there's a good picture that I actually created just to demonstrate. But you don't want to be serious on this, right? Don't be too serious about this. Just to show you, just to give, because now when I say database model, when I say hierarchical database model, you won't get anything from to your head. So just wanted to visualize it and show you how certain things are getting connected within the database, in a database model when you have different database models. So remember, we are never going to discuss this hierarchical network or object oriented. What we will be discussing is only this. So our further discussion is completely based on relational database model, right? So make sure that you always keep in mind about the relational database model. Okay. So we'll be discussing further about this. Then, so I think from here onwards, so you should understand the most used database model is the relational database model. The data within the most common types of databases in operation today is typically modeled in rows and columns in a series of tables to make processing and data querying efficient. This database model is called relational database model. Okay, so I hope stop from here because we won't have more time to discuss about these concepts further. So we'll be stopping by this slide, and in the next, from next Tuesday, the slides will be continued from this point onward. And also, you must come to the interactive session on this coming Thursday, from which is going to be held from 8 to 10. එතකොට අද දවස් ඇතුළත අපි මේ theoretic කරලා මෙතෙන්ට අපි කරා. දැන් ඊළඟ දවසේ මේ එන Thursday කියන්නේ මේ සතියේ බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා උදේ 8:10 මේ තියෙනවා interactive session එක. ඒකටත් අනිවාර්යෙන් join වෙන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට තමන්ට අදාළ Zoom link එක use කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ බෙදලා තියෙනවා තමන්ගේ අර group එක අනුව ඒක දාලා නැති. ඒ තමයි group එකට අදාළ Zoom link එක විතරක් click කරලා යන්න. එතකොට අඟහරුවාද තියෙන එකට මේ main session එක කියලා මේකට කියන්නේ. අනිත් ඒවා interactive sessions. එතකොට groups වලට කඩලා වෙන වෙනම තියන්න. එතකොට ඒකේ ළමයි ගන්න අඩුයි. එතකොට ඔයාලට ප්‍රශ්න අහන මේ හැමදේම එතන කරන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, then thank you very much for your participation, and keep this interaction for the activeness for the future lessons as well. So let's stop for today. Thank you very much.